Hey guys, Kaidaski here, founder of the Tyro Mature VR community and captain of Tyro EU. Today, I'm bringing you a complete beginner's guide to Echo VR.
Jen, you gotta help me, the gravity's broken!
Come on, reality, we're in Echo Arena. It's 0 Gs!
I prefer the standard amount of Gs.
Echo can feel like a very daunting and difficult game for new players, so here are my 5 biggest tips to help you improve and enjoy the game more.
I'm proud of you, but still not okay with it.
Being able to move around the arena effectively is the key to developing the rest of your game. For beginners, moving around in zero gravity will feel completely alien and may even turn your stomach if you're new to VR. Don't worry, your VR legs will grow in pretty soon and the movement in zero gravity will actually begin to feel really natural after just a few hours. Before we start talking about the mechanics in game, here are a couple of other tips that will help you. Try placing something on the floor in the middle of your play space for you to stand on, such as a mat or a rug. This will help you to know when you're in the middle of your play space and safe to move. Another trick you can use is to point a fan at yourself as you're playing. You can feel the breeze and this will help you orientate yourself in the real world. Expect to move around a lot and quickly in this game, so make sure your play space is clear and let anyone you live with know not to come too close to you as you're playing. I've actually completely lost count of how many times I've heard someone punch a wall, break a glass, or accidentally punch their pet, child, or significant other. And now into the real tips. I'll assume at this point you've played the tutorial and you've learnt the controls. If you haven't, go and do that before you watch the rest of this video. Many new players will limit themselves to using just their wrist thrusters like this. This will limit you to 4 meters per second only. You can use your back booster by pressing the left stick button down, which will give you an extra boost up to 5 meters per second. You'll improve most with your movement if you stop thinking about the wrist thrusters as a form of propulsion and rather think of them as a tool to help steer you closer to objects. By far the best way to change direction or to gain speed initially is to grab onto an object and throw yourself in the direction you want to go. Then use your wrist thrusters to correct your course. You can grab any surface or object in the arena and use this as a way to move around. The most optimum way to move around in the arena by far is by hopping from object to object. Moving around like this is much more reliable than floating around, as it enables you to change direction quickly. If you're not moving for any period of time, get yourself anchored to an object. With practice, this will enable you to leap into the direction you need to go with much more accuracy and consistency than floating. Here's an example of trying to catch a disc using just your wrist thrusters. See how slow and awkward it is compared to being able to leap off of an object into the disc's path. Keeping yourself anchored when you have the disc enables you to change direction and duke out defenders. Notice how these defenders are using their wrist thrusters to try to keep up with me. By using the geometry and moving around, I'm able to evade them and create a shooting opportunity. Your real-world movements are also translated into this game. For example, a quick jump or duck can move your player up and down. As demonstrated in this clip here, a well-timed duck or a jump can help you avoid defenders. Alongside movement, another crucial skill you will need to develop to get good at this game is throwing the disc effectively in a variety of situations. Whether you've just won the disc in your own half and need to make a clearance, whether you're trying to pass to an open teammate, or if you're trying to shoot on goal, you'll need to be able to throw the disc with accuracy and power. This is not a quick or easy skill to learn. This is going to take hours of practice on your part, and you'll be constantly improving this throughout your Echo career. Even professional and high-level competitive players will tell you that their shot can still be improved. This is something that you'll be working on for as long as you play this game. That said, there are a few common mistakes that all beginners make, so here are a few tips to get you started on the right track. First and foremost, most new players will try to throw this disc like a frisbee. Understandable considering how it looks. This, however, is a very inefficient way of throwing the disc, leading to slow and inaccurate throws. Try instead to throw it more like a ball, overarm or slightly sidearm. With just a little bit of practice, you'll soon find that throwing the disc like this offers you more speed and accuracy. To practice this, just get nice and close to the goal and use your personal disc to shoot. Practice your accuracy first and then start to add some power to your shots. When this gets easy, start aiming for the corners of the goal. This is a good habit to get into, as at higher levels it will be easier to beat a goalie. On the point of trying to beat a goalie, spend some time practicing shooting off of the backboard. This is a really good way of getting some points from sharp angles. Sometimes you might find yourself in a position where throwing a normal overarm throw is difficult. In these situations, it's helpful to have a couple of other styles of throw available to you. Some situations may call for a backhand throw. In this case, don't throw it like a frisbee, but flip your hand over and push the disc away from you. Another common position to be in with a difficult throw is when you're low to the floor and need to throw the disc upwards. This is best accomplished with an underarm throw. There are a few other methods of throwing the disc in this game as well. Try to be comfortable with at least a few of them. Spend time practicing throwing the disc in a number of different styles, including with your weak hand. So, now you can throw a disc in a straight line when you're still, but what about if you're moving? Something a lot of new players don't take into consideration is that your velocity has a direct impact on the disc's trajectory. The speed and angle at which you're moving will impact the speed and angle at which the disc is thrown. This means your shot will be faster and more accurate if you're floating towards your target. This is because your momentum is considered in your throw. If you're moving forward at 4 meters per second and throw the disc at 10 meters per second, the disc will actually be traveling at 14 meters per second. This also means, however, if you're trying to throw the disc at a target that you're moving away from, the shot will be weaker and less accurate. Your momentum is also considered if you're moving from side to side past an object you're aiming at. For example, if you're floating from left to right past your target, you're going to have to aim to the left of the goal to hit it. This is because your momentum will carry the disc to the right of the target. And don't forget, the same rules will apply if you're travelling vertically past an object. A good method of practicing all of these skills in one go is to simply float around the arena and use your personal disc to throw at objects you've pointed out. Aim for objects to your left, right, above you and below you, and try to use a combination of different throwing methods that we've already discussed. This will translate really well to in-game situations, as often your teammates will be waiting for you on these pieces of geometry. Take note of any shots you regularly miss and spend some time practicing them. Now that you've got some of the basic mechanics down, it's time to start applying them into game situations. Echo is first and foremost a team sport. Playing as a team is where you get the most victories and the most enjoyment out of this game. When you have the disc and you're being pressured, look for an open teammate. There's a good chance someone will be open for a pass. 2 or 3 quick passes can be all it takes to turn a defensive turnover into a scoring opportunity. Don't forget, after all, that you can throw the disc much faster than you can float with it. When you first enter a public match, you and your teammates are given 45 seconds to plan and strategize. Use this time wisely. You can decide ahead of time certain roles, such as goalie, attacker, defender, and quarterback. Traditionally, teams are split into 2 pairs, attackers and defenders. In Echo, this is often referred to as the front stack and the back stack. The attackers often divide into left attack and right attack, while the defenders often split into goalkeeper and mid. However, not all teams will set up like this. Some more organised teams may use slightly different strategies. Let's have a quick overview of some of the different roles and how you can develop them. Usually, the quarterback is one of the defensive players, allowing the attacking players to get forward to receive a pass. Quarterbacks need to have a good, fast and accurate throw to be able to connect their passes. They also need to have a good read of the game to understand which pass would be the best choice. You can use the 12 seconds before launch to design a play and make sure every player knows what they're expected to do. On my team, the quarterback is also the goalie, one of the most important roles in the arena. When playing as the goalie, position yourself between the attacking player and the goal by holding onto the blocks in front of you or the edge of the goal itself. You can practice making saves and working on your goalkeeper skills against the AI in public matches or with a friend in a private match. Obviously, one of the goalie's main roles is to make saves. However, an equally important role a goalie must fulfill is to be the eyes and ears for the defenders. The goalkeeper needs to be a strong communicator. They need to take charge of their defence and be able to communicate effectively the position of enemy players so their defenders can mark them. Defenders, also known as mids, usually form a partnership with the goalkeeper. The defender usually sits somewhere between the goalie and the attackers. When the opposition has the disc, one of the main roles of the defender is to mark opposition players and intercept passes and clearances. When defending your own bubble, the defender usually marks the central areas. Although goalie and mid are primarily defensive roles, it's important for them both to get forward when their team has the disc. If the defensive players don't join in with their team's attacks, their attackers will be isolated. One of the biggest challenges for defensive players is learning when to get forward and when to sit back. This is a skill that develops over time and with practice. When just starting out as a goalie, for example, it's best not to get too far forward as you're going to be quite slow getting back. However, as you play this game more, you'll start to learn techniques which will help you move around the arena quicker. As your ability increases and the speed of the games you play in gets faster, it's more important to get further forward. For example, on my team, our goalie is often found around the attacking bubble when we have the disc. In many games, he's actually our top scorer. Attackers, also known as strikers, are the players on the team responsible for converting and creating most of your team's scoring opportunities. For the most part, when your team has the disc, these are the players which are furthest forward. A good striker must be a competent finisher. They must be capable of misdirecting the goalie and making their two-pointers count. Strikers should be competent at shooting from a range of positions, angles and distances. Although, nobody likes a selfish striker. The best strikers know when not to shoot when a pass may be a better option. While goalies and defenders need to have great game sense and awareness, attackers need to have strong fundamentals and technical abilities. Besides finishing and creating chances, strikers are the players in the arena who would likely spend the most amount of time on the disc. Strikers need to be comfortable in possession and able to hold onto the disc while the rest of their players can catch up and join the attack. To build your skills as an attacker, practice shooting from close range, using the backboard and aiming for pockets. Also practice your juking ability to beat defenders and keep hold of the disc, and practice your passing around the bubble. While scoring is fun and important, being a good team player is even more so. In the same way that defenders have to support the attackers must support the defense. Working hard defensively, passing selflessly, and supporting your teammates to improve is the best way to earn your teammates' respect. Spend a little bit of time trying each of these positions out. If you find a role that you particularly enjoy, stick with it and work on those skills. But don't forget, it's always helpful to have other skills in your locker. The very best players in the Echo community can play in any position. And whether you're in a private match playing with friends you've known for a long time, or in a public match teaming up with new players, always remember that the very best players lift other players up. All players, whether they're complete beginners or professionals, will make mistakes. Don't berate your teammates for making errors. Instead, offer them support and encouragement. You never know, they may return the favour with a sweet pass setting you up for a nice goal. Arguably, strong communication is the key to good teamwork. Even the very best Echo players don't have eyes in the back of their head. Players in possession of the disc can be helped out by their teammates by calling out positions of enemy defenders, warning them ahead of time if they're about to get stunned, or calling out their position for an open pass. While fundamental callouts such as "look out, there's someone behind you" or "I'm open on your left" are helpful, in a game as fast-paced as Echo, it's helpful to be as clear and concise as possible. Lucky for us, there's a few universally used words and phrases that helps us achieve this. You may have heard players shouting out colours as they play, red, yellow and green for example. This is the universal traffic light system used by most English-speaking Echo players. If you have the disc in your hands and you hear someone shout green, it means you're not being pressured by the opposing team. This means you're not under pressure, so you can slow down and take time over making your next decision. If you hear a yellow call, it means you're about to be pressured, but you maybe still have a couple of seconds to think and choose a pass. If you get a yellow call, it might be a good time to take a look around and see where this pressure is coming from before you decide on what to do next. Finally, the red call. If you have the disc and you hear someone shout red, get rid of the disc now. This means an enemy player is about to stun you and steal the disc. If you see an open teammate, pass them immediately. If you don't, just throw the disc away into an open space. So what about calling positions out? While above you, behind you, to your left or to your right are helpful to some degree, they're not very specific. Over time, the Echo community has creatively named every piece of geometry in the arena. However, these names aren't entirely universal. While some positional callouts such as nest or bowtie are reasonably universal, others can differ from country to country and even from team to team. Describing all of the positional callouts and their variations could take me a very long time. For the sake of this video, I'll leave it out this time. However, if this is something you would like to learn more about, or you would like me to make a video explaining this, leave a comment below. In the meantime, you can use this picture as a good starting point. Despite the many variations, most of them are used interchangeably, so most players will recognise these callouts. A good example of combining your positional callouts with the colour callouts is something like this: yellow bowtie. This will let the player on the disc know that they only have a few seconds to act and that you are open on bowtie for a pass. These positional callouts are also crucial for defending. Goalies will often use these callouts to let the defenders know exactly where the attacking team are. On first impressions, this may sound like you're having to learn an entirely new language. However, using it in-game for a short period of time, it will quickly become the norm. Other important pieces of information to call out include letting your team know when you've won or lost the disc. A simple call out of turnover, disc lost, or disc won is all this takes. Players can often be distracted from what's going on immediately around the disc, so this call out can be crucial for signalling your team to get back and defend, or get forward and join the attack. Other useful callouts for your teammates can include letting them know that they're being heavily marked, or letting them know that the goal is open so they can take a shot. In many of the clips in this video, you may have seen players travelling at what looks like impossibly high speeds. While your individual speed using your thrusters and boosters is limited to 5 meters per second, you can achieve theoretically infinite speed using a technique known as regrabbing, sometimes referred to as stacking. Regrabbing is a skill that's easy to learn but incredibly difficult to master. I've taught many beginners the fundamentals of regrabbing in under 10 minutes. However, players on high-level teams will likely be practicing their regrabbing for hours every week just to make it a split second faster or more accurate. Much like throwing the disc with accuracy and power, regrabbing is one of the key fundamentals in this game. While most new players are completely unaware of this strategy, as you enter higher level games, knowing this skill will be a necessity. However, I could literally spend hours talking about the intricacies of regrabbing. So again, for this video, I'll just cover the broad brushstrokes. Again though, if you would like to learn in more detail, comment below. Although this technique may sound complex and difficult to learn, rest assured it's easier than it sounds. For context, these clips you're seeing here are me teaching my real-life partner, Natalie, how to regrab. At this point, she's been learning how to regrab for less than 10 minutes. You may have learned by now that you can grab a moving player and throw yourself off of them to get a boost in your speed. However, defying the laws of physics, the player you launched yourself from has not lost the speed that you gained. It didn't take Echo players long to realise that you could grab hold of a player that's just launched from you and launch off of them in return, getting an extra speed boost on their previous speed boost. It's also worth noting that you can't collide with other players in this game unless you grab them with your hand. And it was in realising that you could use these two quirks of in-game physics that regrabbing was born. When initiating a regrab, take care that both players don't grab each other at the same time. This will stop you both in your tracks and take away any momentum you had to start with. The unwritten rule of regrabbing is that the player closest to the target destination is the player that initiates the grab. As shown here, trying to get to the orange end, the player nearest the orange end turns around and grabs the player behind them. This enables you to use the forward momentum of the player behind you to initiate the regrab. This is much preferable than the alternative. For the players to get close enough to grab each other, the player in front has to slow down or turn around. If the player behind then grabs this player, they'll be travelling in the wrong direction before they start. To continue the regrab, pull yourself straight through the back of your teammate in the direction you want to go. Your teammate can hold their hand in front of their chest with the grab button held down. This will auto grab you as you come through, and they can repeat the process. And just like that, you've learned how to regrab. This is a skill that will take hours and hours to master, so practice this with a friend. And speaking of friends, the best way to improve at this game is to play with like-minded people. If you're an adult and want to find some like-minded players, I strongly recommend you join the Tyro community. At the time of recording, we nearly have 900 adult members. We host coaching from beginner to advanced levels, friendly community games, but most importantly, a friendly, welcoming and mature community for players of all levels. I'll leave a link in the description below if you want to join. And that concludes my complete beginner's guide to Echo VR. Be sure to leave a like if you found this helpful and leave a comment if you would like me to cover anything else. Subscribe and check out my other videos if you love Echo VR. But for now, Kaidaski signing off.